space is really about a model of teaching called the flipped classroom. So we've taken the old model, which is somebody standing at the front and students sitting passively absorbing knowledge, and we've completely transformed that. So these spaces are about enabling students working in teams to solve problems, apply their knowledge, actually develop the skills and the capabilities that they need to be successful in today's workforce. There's a whole lot of things in these spaces that are really about bringing students together as peers and working together at solving problems. So I think first of all, the setup of the tables. So when you sit down at a table, you're actually in a group facing each other. You're not facing towards a lecturer or anyone else. You're actually part of a group. So that's a really important element. There are screens on each for each of those group areas. So you have a workspace, and those screens are surrounded by whiteboards. So there's an area for you to collectively come together and put your ideas together and those type of things. The other interesting thing is there's different levels in these rooms. So some of the spaces you stand up at, some of them you sit down on, but it's a much more active type of doing things. So people are getting up and down and walking around. And what I really love to see is when groups of students have got similar ideas, they'll actually bring their tables together and they'll join and they'll merge what they're doing and they'll shoot what's on one screen over to another screen. And I think it's that flexibility and that idea of being able to reconfigure and bring great ideas together. That's really at the heart of this sort of peer-led learning. Feedback has been overwhelming. So we've had these spaces open for most of this academic year. So we ran 2 earlier this year and then we've had all 4 later. And so from a student point of view, even if it's not class, it's really hard to keep students out of here. So they're open 24/7, and students, if there's not a formal class in here, they'll come in and they'll work in their groups. So we know that means that it's a space that they like, that they know that they're actually going to get great work done. Students have told us, and we spend a lot of time talking to people about what the experience is like. They've told us that they've 2 things. One is that they feel like they get to know their classmates a lot better, because rather than sitting passively back with someone either side of you, you're actually working with others, and that's enhancing their cross-cultural competence, their ability to work with other people, so that's really great. But they also tell us that they get the ideas a lot better because they're actually having to apply. This is not that somebody's talking to you about how to solve a problem or how to do a solution on a board. You're actually given those challenges and you have to do them in your teams. So they're having to actually work through how do you apply that formula to this type of content, or how do you come up with a solution. So they're actually, the learning experience is really enhanced. One of the things I think that a lot of universities worry about is the fundamental shift in professional development for faculty that's needed. So, a lot of faculty were trained in a particular way of doing things and succeeded in a particular way of doing things, and this style of teaching and facilitating is really different. But what we found is that the faculty love it as well. They find their teaching experience much more rewarding. Their students are happier, they're doing better work, so they find a lot of benefit out of that. It is a lot of work, so for a lot of people, we've got a lot of dedicated people that really invested very heavily in ensuring that they were doing the best possible teaching in this space. But it's great when students and faculty are both happier, and the outcomes are really great. Very raw measure of effectiveness is capacity utilisation. So wherever possible, people will run their classes in here. So we're already at 100% capacity, and which is great. It means that the spaces are actually working. Student attendance is another really interesting metric. So, like a lot of institutions, all our lectures are available through Echo 360, and students don't necessarily need to come here. But what we're finding is when a class is run in one of these rooms, everybody shows up because they know that they're actually getting something out of the experience of being in the classroom. So that for us is a really strong metric. We're starting to see some some small evidence that actual student attainment is better. So, comparing year-on-year test results for similar content, there's some slight variations in attainment, but that could be a cohort effect, so they'll take a while to wash through. But, it's certainly the case that there's, where the visible signs are that it's a much better learning experience. So there's a huge amount of technology in these rooms, but a funny thing is I think that it's actually not the technology. So the technology enhances the experience and enables it and those type of things, but it's actually the physical space and the orientation of learners to each other that really makes the difference. But we wanted to make sure that these rooms are future-proofed. So we spent a lot of time thinking about not only what's the technology now, but what are we going to be able to need. So I think the most important thing is that there's enough bandwidth in here for every single student to have a half a dozen devices and for them still to have really fast connection, and I think that's really important. But you'll see that there's PCs built into every table. We've got a hardware switching solution, which means you can have faculty can show the same screen all the way around the room, or they can unplug all those screens so that individual screens are individual work. But the one I really like is when a group of students will do a great piece of work on a screen and you can actually share that screen with everybody else. And we've got hardware that allows us to do that, and we've also got software. So it's been a bit of a learning process, and I think the first couple of these rooms had way more technology in them. And as we worked through the process, we actually realised that some things were more critical than others. And the one thing I think has worked really well is the voice amplification. So we've got quite good audio, which means that faculty can walk around the room and be just talking with a normal voice, and people can hear it properly. So that really enhances the sense that it's a conversation rather than being shouted at and those type of things. So lots of little tricks. I think it's really great to work with professionals with an understanding of adult learning as well as an understanding of good design, and we work really closely with them as well.